Today, I'm excited to introduce Dana Earhart, a business growth strategist who has spent over a decade helping service based entrepreneurs scale their multi six and seven figure businesses without working longer hours. Dana has guided hundreds of clients across 9 industries to become thriving $1 million CEOs, all while finding more time, joy, and freedom. Her mission is to empower business owners to create a business that supports the life they've always dreamed of, one filled with purpose, profits, and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Buzzworthy Women podcast. Today, I am super excited to introduce our guest, Dana Earhart. She is a growth strategist and the CEO of Dana Earhart Consulting. Dana, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I know we've had a couple of great conversations and look forward to continuing the conversation.
I know it's always funny when we get into the green room, as they call it, before we hit record. We have conversation. Hey, how's it going? Chit chat or whatever, and then the guest if will say something like totally amazing, and I'm like, no, wait, don't talk yet. Save it for the interview. So it's always
Murphy's
fun to
Law.
kind of have those. Yeah, it's always fun to have those pre-conversations and lead up to the exciting conversation to come. So tell us
Absolutely.
about how you got. Tell us about how you got started in your journey to becoming a business growth strategist for a business growth strategist coaching seven-figure CEOs.
Well, I certainly never imagined, like many of us who don't necessarily see the path to entrepreneurship until it arrives. But I spent over 20 years in corporate and nonprofit consulting. And it was fabulous in my 20s and 30s, traveling the country, seeing, all different not only places, but really getting to know different companies, different organizations, different culture. It was an amazing experience. And then I got married and had my son 2 months before I turned 40. And that was really a big defining moment because I didn't want to be hitting the airports anymore. I didn't want to be, 2 or 3 weeks out of the month hitting the airport, traveling to wherever and spending the night in the hotel. And it was specifically one night, my son was probably about 9 months old. The first 6 months I didn't have to travel, and then I had about 3 months of travel. And I remember the one night just sitting in the hotel room thinking, I love what I do. And I was crying in that moment thinking, this is not why I had a child. I want to be home with him. And so it was really that moment of how do I recreate myself? How do I take my skills, my experience, my expertise, and my passion to serve others, my passion for personal growth and development, along with the leadership, operations, strategic planning. And that is when Dana Earhart Consulting was born. That was 11 and a half, almost 12 years ago. And really, because of what I went through, I think that has become my mission, is to really help other business owners know and experience that it is possible to experience tremendous success professionally and not have it be at the expense of their personal life. And that's really paramount to me with every organization, every individual I work with, is let's get clear on the life you want and then build a business that supports that life. So they're not left trying to squeeze life in around the business.
That's such an amazing story because I think there's so many people who can relate. I myself can certainly relate to that. But also people who are in this, they're in that stage of they don't know what to do, right? They want to be home with their family, or they don't want the hustle, and they just don't know that there's anything else out there.
Right.
So I love that you touched on that because that's the whole reason why I started my own business as well, to be present here at the house with my kids, and be able to take them to school and go to sports events and stuff like that I know with a corporate job I wouldn't have the flexibility or ability to do. So it's hugely important to start with that why and really focus on that as you grow and build upon the experience and services that you can provide as a business owner, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely. And recently, my son just turned 13, and it even had me kind of recalibrating that why, because certainly in
Yeah,
those early years, it absolutely was not only the financial freedom. I would say what was even more important to me was the time freedom. Was,
right.
as you said, I wanted to be walking him to school, being there after school. Now at 13, he doesn't really want that
Right.
as much. But at least I can still be on the sidelines of his sports games and things along those lines. And now I'm realizing, okay, I still want that time flexibility,
Mhm.
and let's really build up that financial wealth and abundance
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the scaling aspect of how you coach and how you help people to scale without overwhelm, right? So you start with that why, and you understand and get clear on what their lifestyle they want to live. But then there's also still business, right? They probably love their business, but they don't have as much time during the day. They still need to make a financial, living financially and that sort of thing. So how do you help them to scale while allowing them to live the life that they want to?
Great question. And I think it really comes down to helping them identify what are their biggest bottlenecks in the
Mm,
business right now. And especially, businesses, there's different things you're experiencing when you're in the early six-figure revenues. Some of those bottlenecks start changing a little bit as you get to the
yeah.
mid and high six figures, and again a little bit of shifting when you cross over that seven figure mark in the early seven figures. And so it's helping them identify what are the top three bottlenecks in your business right now. And depending on what they are, we may not be able to tackle all three at the same time. However, let's look at how we can prioritize those bottlenecks so that this quarter we're focusing on one, next quarter it could
Hmm.
be the second one, and the third in the third quarter. Of course, it all depends on their team size also.
True.
What
Yeah.
level leadership are they grooming up underneath them? What size team are they? A team of five? Are they a team of 15 or a team of 30? Can make a
Yeah.
big difference too on, is it just them really making the shift to bust through those bottlenecks, or can they empower their team to be working with them as well? And so there's typically five or six areas that I know the bottlenecks will appear. And what I will say is, typically, I would say 99% of the time, the biggest bottleneck is themselves.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. so so with that, so okay, we know that the CEO is usually the biggest bottleneck. How do you overcome that? Because it seems like such a huge mountain to climb to get over that, and figuring out how to eliminate that as a bottleneck. How do you break that down to simplify it and not make it feel so overwhelming?
Absolutely. And I will say that I may start opposite of how many people would think you would approach this. When it is about the leader being a bottleneck, first and foremost, I look for how many hours a week are they working,
Mm,
and how much enjoyment are they really experiencing both in and out of the office. And usually, there's not as much enjoyment happening outside of the office. So, one of the first things I start working with them on is, all right, where can we put some boundaries in place to ensure that you're not bringing work home, that
mm,
you're fully invested in those relationships at home, including relationship with yourself? Are you taking care of
yeah.
yourself? Are you doing things that light you up? And let's get at least one thing on the calendar in the next 7 days that excites you, that lights you up, that you enjoy, whether it's a date night, whether it's a date with your
Yeah.
kids, whether it's self-care. Put that on the calendar, because
Mm,
what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just that 2 hours that you invest in a date night or a spa treatment or something along those lines. You actually get the excitement of looking forward to that. Just like when we
Yeah.
look forward to a vacation, a lot of times we're excited for a couple of months because that vacation's coming. Well, just
Yeah.
imagine if you have things like that dripped in every week, you're looking forward to it for a week, you enjoy it, and then you get the afterglow of the fact that you did something for yourself and you pulled away from the office. So,
Yeah.
first and foremost, that's one thing we do. As I mentioned, we look at boundaries, and I think of it as guardrails. What are the hours that you want to be dedicated to working? And what are the hours that you want to be dedicated to your life outside of the office? And how quickly can we start making little tweaks so that each week you feel like you're making progress in that area? A
Yeah. You
lot of
know,
it comes, sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead. No, go ahead.
I could talk for hours on
I
this.
know. I love it. I love it.
But a lot of times also it's a taking a look at their schedule to look and see, are they clustering
Mm,
different types of work, because we use our brain for different activities. We have the logical side, we have the creative side. As a CEO, we want to make sure that you're allocating time for both, because as the true visionary, if you are not giving yourself that time for creativity, for strategic planning, you're not being the visionary that your organization needs. If you truly want to be growing and scaling, that is a requirement. And then there's also time that you want allocated to the mentorship of your other leaders, of your team, of ensuring that the systems are running smoothly, et cetera. So then we also look, I would say the third area, so it's schedule something personal. Then it's looking at how are we clustering the schedule. And third, what meetings are happening, what meetings are not happening that you would benefit from having happened,
yeah.
and what is the purpose of each of those meetings? Because I've seen both
Mm,
sides of the spectrum where CEOs are just running from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. And it gets to a point where, as the CEO, you're not even sure what the purpose of some of those meetings are. And if you're not sure what the purpose is, I guarantee you, your team doesn't know either.
exactly. Yeah. It's interesting. As you were talking about the first step of personal care and really setting aside time on your calendar, I had an epiphany because I'm in the struggle right now where I know that I need to take care of myself because I as a mom, just as a woman, I don't know what it is. I put everybody else first, right? My family, my kids, my job, my clients, like everything. But then it's like when you look back at yourself, you have to take care of yourself. So I've been
Mhm.
feeling such pressure to take time every single day for myself. And it just feels like overwhelm, right? So when you said that, I thought to myself, what if I just started with 2 hours a week? And then I did, twice a week or,
Yep.
something small and incremental because for me, it feels like so much pressure to do it every single day. But maybe it doesn't have to be that hard. It can just be an hour a week, 2 hours a week, and then work your way up to the, once a day kind of thing. So I'm like, I just kind of had an epiphany. I had to share that with you.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's the
So,
key, is to, sorry, I know we must be having a little time delay. I was going to say, one of the key things I work with clients and I talk a lot about is letting go of the idea of work life balance and instead looking for life work rhythm. Because
I love
just
that.
like if you're a musician at all, you understand that, sometimes the melody is the strongest and sometimes it's the harmony. And there will
Yeah.
be seasons of that our business, we may have an event, a big proposal, a big project, a new hire,
Mm.
where we're putting more time into the business for a season.
Yeah.
And then there's also times we want to take vacations and be totally unplugged from the business. And that's okay too. So it's really
Right.
about finding that flow, finding the rhythm that works for you.
Yeah, I love that because as we talk about seasons in our life, we don't really relate that to seasons in our business. And what you're saying
Right.
is, there shouldn't be any separation. everything should blend together. And so the seasons that you have are going to vary, business, life, and everything's going to kind of have to mix together so that you can build that harmony, to feel good about where you are, and not, put yourself down or feel guilty about doing certain things because of the season that you're in, either with life or with business. So I love that you touched on that.
Yes. And I think it's crucial to kind of reevaluate that on a consistent, regular basis. Oftentimes, I'm talking about scheduling, and typically, my approach is by the 15th of this month, I'm already mapping out next month. I may not know the details of what's going to happen with everything on my schedule. However, I'm going to be mapping out, where is my personal time? Where is my CEO time? Where is my mentoring of others time? Where is the client fulfillment? And just getting a
Mm.
feel for what that flow will look like. But it all starts with the personal appointments first.
Yeah. And how do you, this is a question that, I think people will be thinking as you're talking about scheduling time. And you had mentioned earlier about, you have, strategic time, and you have creative time and CEO time. How do you know within your day, or how do you help a client identify within their day what time frame is best for those types of activities, if you will?
Great question. It was a mentor of mine who turned me onto an entirely different approach to this, because more of an early bird. 7 a.m. is oftentimes when I'm at my strongest at the office, the most creative, the most alert, most focused. And oftentimes I would be letting clients schedule time with me then. And I thought ultimately that was the best way to be of service. And yes, it's being of service to them. And what it was doing, and this was what my mentor said. So she said, so you're the least alert at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when you're working on your own business? And it was just kind of like ding, ding, ding.
Like,
Oh,
yeah.
um, and yet, the truth, what I've come to find out is that actually, when I'm with clients or when I'm with other people 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I can be equally energetic, focused, and creative in that time. It's that time doing
Yeah.
solo work was not the strongest for me. So I think, as a CEO
Mm.
of a growing business, you absolutely want your most focused, most alert time for strategic planning and for the visioning of the organization to be aligned, first and foremost. Then you want to be thinking about, okay, what makes sense? When is the best time to be meeting with my team based on their workflow? And oftentimes
Mhm.
people will realize that, oh, a team meeting at 1 o'clock right after lunch is probably not the best time. If we catch them at 8 or 9 in the morning when they're first arriving, let's set the tone of the day. That can
Yeah.
also be a really strong time. And I think it's giving yourself permission to test out different options to really find out what works best for you and
Mhm.
what works best for your team.
Yeah. And I think setting boundaries too on your time. And like you said, like if a client wanted to meet with you at 7, you would say yes, but really you should be saying no. If that's time that you set aside for your own business or for strategic planning, whatever it might be. So setting boundaries, and being okay with, putting things off, obviously if it's not an emergency, but being careful of how you utilize your time, and allow people to come into your schedule.
Absolutely. I have moved to typically, I am not scheduling appointments before 9 a.m. at all with other people. I may start working at 7 o'clock now that my son leaves for school at 6:30. I can be working at 7. And 7 to 9 is some of my most creative time. So it works out perfectly. And then 9 to 10, I can start working with other people, scheduling client calls, meeting with you today, things along those lines.
Yeah. It's so important to know, how to utilize your time, because time is the one thing that we can't get more of. And so it's so important to guard your time with, caution, and utilize your time well. So, yeah. So
Absolutely.
I want to wrap this up with one last question, and it has to do with a strategy. And maybe we've kind of already talked about this, but you developed a strategy called the Optimized Six Figure Entrepreneur. So I wanted to see if that was something you wanted to talk about. One of the plans and services packages that you offer.
Absolutely. It's the optimized six figure entrepreneur is for the service based business that's already making mid to high six figures. And so now they really want to optimize their systems, optimize the talent that they've brought on board, start looking at what is the next best hire for their organization given their goals. And I don't know that I have any client that has wanted to stay in six figures. Typically, they're always looking for that growth and that scaling. So it's about how do we optimize where we are so that we can grow and then scale that much faster to get to the seven figure and then multi seven figure mark. And so it really is. I did, and I'm guessing this is a note to self. My website needs updating because I did have a program that was focused on this, that was a group program. That has now
Mm.
concluded. And so I still offer the same work, just done on a private basis with then some hybrid
Nice.
masterminding that's happening as well.
Love that.
So
I
absolutely,
love
what
that.
I would love to offer is that if anyone is interested in exploring uh, whether what it looks like to work together, whether or not we're a good fit, I absolutely welcome them to reach out. I'm of course on all of the typical social media platforms, or they can email me directly. And I'm happy to offer a bottleneck to breakthrough strategy session so we can really start looking at where is that biggest bottleneck and what are those next best steps to breaking through.
I love that. Dana, thank you so much for being a guest today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, learning your strategies and the insight that you have. And I know that people listening will definitely take away at least one golden nugget, if not many, many more. So thank you so much for being a guest today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.